Knowing this near universal pattern helps to assess new brands and existing ones.
What don't marketers know?
Quite a lot. Marketers, I actually live in an anything-goes world where the latest fashion or fad drives an awful lot of practice.
Segmentation is the recognition you can't serve everyone with equal satisfaction.
This is Zach Ansbury Show.
Welcome. On today's podcast clip, we have Professor Jackie Eastman of Florida Gulf Coast University, United States. So you were, one of the other things that you did was you were an honors coordinator? Yeah. Is that something you really enjoyed doing or sought out, or they approached you to do this?
No, I sought that out when the previous honors coordinator, Trey Denton, who was phenomenal, because he was the very first one when he was retiring. And so it was sort of taking the ball from Trey, and he did a phenomenal job in sort of creating a sense of community with the initial honors students in the business school. And then where they wanted it was sort of more implementing like a research culture, so that because like at marketing students, every marketing student, no matter what university you are in the world, is going to take marketing research as a marketing major. But if you're an accounting major or a finance major or management or IS, you may not have a course that teaches you how to conduct research. And so I got the opportunity to develop how to do research that would be applied to, any area of business. And then I built on Trey's work in terms of building a community of scholars that would work with the students when it came time for their thesis, and then helping grow the program and help recruit, maybe students that might not have immediately jumped into the honors program from high school and they got into Georgia Southern, but showed in college. And a lot of times this happens. Somebody finds the right college, the right fit, and they just blossom. And so to get those people and recruit them into the honors program. So it was a great experience. And I'm very fortunate that Georgia Southern let me do it.
With this community of scholars, were they in addition to their supervisors, or they were supervisors for their honors, or?
Right. So the idea being recruiting people that I could bring that had expertise in different areas of research. And then also because the honors students would have to develop a thesis. And so like with marketing students, I knew the marketing faculty really well and what their areas of expertise were, but I didn't know, everybody's area of expertise. So sort of finding that who would be a good fit for the different students and sort of directing them, because if they had them in class, they would know, okay, I'm going to go talk to Professor so-and-so. But, sort of, and again, this was post-COVID, and I don't know if you guys had this experience, but we sort of found that students lost a lot of social ability. So the idea of, here, walk by their door, see when their office hours are, send them an email, say you're going to stop by their office hours and you would like to talk. I mean, that was a legitimate struggle for them. And I remember one time talking to someone that was a counselor during COVID, and she said, it's really interesting because all my patients that have like social anxiety and are introverts, they are thriving in COVID world, because they can stay at home, they can do, they have time to respond to things. And meanwhile, my extroverts are just absolutely miserable because they need that contact to thrive. And so I think a lot of students, and even when you would have a face-to-face class post-COVID, that just, they come in, they're on their phones. And so trying to do icebreakers to get them talking, they just sort of got out of that habit. I think one of the things when I was interviewing in Florida is that in the U.S., different states shut down. And all the states shut down. Florida was one of the first to open up. So like I taught online, even synchronously for about a year plus at Georgia Southern. At Gulf Coast, it was basically, the second half of spring and fall, and they were back on face-to-face. So they didn't lose as much in that area as students at other universities. And that was one thing when I interviewed there, I thought, oh my gosh, this is the most interaction I've had in like 2 years with a group of students. And I sort of credit that Florida as a state opened up so much sooner.
That must have been, a lot. I don't know, that balance is sort of where we're all heading at the moment. We have a bit of a combination of, asynchronous and synchronous, but online and offline as well. Our universities really, and they were ahead of the game. They were pushing online education before COVID. We had a big sort of setup there. So the transition was less difficult for us in that sense. And I think we have a big sort of strategic plan of, although we're based in Adelaide, we have quite a lot of the world's population in our time zone. And that pushing online education is a good way to break out of just not only your state, but your national boundaries, but potentially international boundaries. So I think that's our long-term vision. But whereas we used to send academics to places like Hong Kong, for example, to teach for 2 weeks. And I don't know. I like a hybrid, especially because the websites are a lot nicer than they used to be, that's for sure. Hi everyone, Zach here again, and just a few quick reminders before you go. If you're listening to the podcast and are considering incorporating it into your secondary school or university courses, then please let me know and I can guide you through the process. If you're enjoying the show and getting some insights from it, then please leave me a 5-star review on your podcast listening platform. It would go a long way to spreading the word. If you know someone who would benefit from this content, then I would be thrilled if you could consider sharing this episode and its knowledge with them. And finally, thank you for becoming part of the community for this show.